along the way, right? I just kind of wanted to get to know the feel or the background of the people I'm talking to. And quite interestingly, all of us here are into tech. So we know a little bit about everything going on. Maybe we don't know too much about DevOps, but I think you guys must have searched about DevOps for those who want to switch into it or those who are just enthusiastic about it. You must have searched about it at some point, right? So you know a little bit about it. Okay. Your career background is, I would say, important, even though it's not important, but it's important. It's good to know that all of us here have something to do with tech, so we kind of know how to maneuver that entire domain, right? Okay, let's get started with exactly why we are here, right? We want to talk about what makes a great DevOps engineer, right? So along the way or towards the end, you're going to notice that we'll talk about a whole lot of things that we'll maybe not talk about just DevOps itself. Okay, so what makes a great DevOps engineer? You're pretty much going to tell me what makes a great DevOps engineer, because you somehow sooner discover that, hey, pretty much what you're doing already makes you great at what you do, right? And it's pretty much the same thing you need to apply to DevOps. Okay, all right, let's get going. What exactly is DevOps? Before we get into what makes a great DevOps engineer, let's maybe look a little bit into what exactly is DevOps. So a lot of people would define DevOps, or when you go to the internet, you'll see DevOps as the combination of Dev and Ops, which is development, operations, and all of that. But the end goal of DevOps is pretty much for you to be able to automate things, to make people's lives easier, to deliver softwares or whatever you're delivering safely, reliably, and it should be scalable, right? That's the end goal of a DevOps engineer. So it doesn't care how or whatever is happening, but your end goal is to make sure that whatever you're deploying is safe, reliable, scalable, and all of that, right? But today we are shifting the focus from what DevOps is to what makes someone great at DevOps, right? So DevOps is that culture, the mindset, and all of that. But let's maybe shift a little bit into what exactly makes you great at DevOps. I'm just a DevOps enthusiast. The great DevOps engineers we have here will be Engineer Lowe and Engineer Bless, right? Those are the people we know who are great DevOps engineers. If they are calling DevOps engineers in Cameroon, they'll always mention those two. Anyways, so a lot of people think DevOps is all about just the tools, how many tools, how you can use them and all of that. No, not really. Yes, you need to know quite a few tools, but that's not what DevOps is all about. DevOps is not all about knowing Kubernetes. It's not all about knowing Docker, Terraform, Ansible, Chef, Puppet, all of those things, right? Not really. Okay, so you don't need to master everything before you even apply for a DevOps role, right? You can know your few tools to the core and you apply for a role and you use that, right? I think towards the start of CloudOps, if I'm not mistaken, Engineer Lowe mentioned something about some DevOps engineers being glorified Linux admins, sysadmins. That really stuck with me. I don't know why, but it's true, because at some point you discover that the role that you're hired as a DevOps engineer, but your role in your company is technically not a DevOps engineer, right? So in the company, you get to discover that you're doing more of Linux admin, you're doing more of sysadmin rather than maybe working even in the cloud, right? Well, you're working in the cloud, the instances that you have that you're working from, they're in the cloud, but it's not really what you're doing as a DevOps engineer. You get to discover that you're checking maybe system files, you're doing some uptime checks, you're doing little things like that. That's the job for a sysadmin, not really a DevOps engineer. DevOps engineers want to automate stuff. They want to build infrastructure, right? They want to deploy scalable systems and all of that, right? And yes, when you think about it, all those things need you to know quite a few tools. They need you to know maybe Terraform, maybe Kubernetes, maybe Docker, maybe Ansible. Keep in mind, I'm saying maybe. I'm not saying they need you to know that, because not all the roles require you to know all the tools, right? A particular role for a particular company, let's say, or maybe in lowest company, you probably need to know Kubernetes because their infrastructure is a microservice something and it's deployed in a Kubernetes cluster somehow, right? That's just his company. You can go to Bless's company, and in Bless's company, their infrastructure, it's almost the same thing, but they're using maybe Docker Compose, Docker Swarm. It doesn't require you to know Kubernetes, right? But the two engineers are still DevOps engineers, right? So knowing all those different tools doesn't really matter. Well, it does matter, but you don't need to know everything before you can actually apply as a DevOps engineer, right? Know the few tools that you know them to the core. Make sure that you understand them, make sure that you can use them, make sure that at any point in time, if anything comes up in terms tax related, anything, you can knock them off with the tools, Okay. So that's the DevOps myth, knowing a whole lot of tools, which is not really the case. All right. So DevOps is more of that mindset rather than the tool set. Okay, so it's more of you being able to grow, you being able to learn on the fly, because bet you all the DevOps engineers I know, even me, you always learn on the job, right? There's going to always be something you don't know, and you have to be humble enough to ask for help. You have to be humble enough to change your mindset, to learn, to grow. Okay, so the DevOps myth is not really just about the tool sets you know. Okay, so it's more the mindset rather than the tool set. Okay, so we're flipping the script a little bit. Okay, what makes a great DevOps engineer? But let's flip that script for a little bit, just for a little bit. All right, let me ask you all this question. A few of us here are not into DevOps, so this is going to go to Boris, Bob. Livingstone is into DevOps a little bit, but yeah. Anyways, I'm just going to ask you guys this question. Before DevOps, everybody who was here who is into DevOps, and before DevOps, the job you had before DevOps, right? And for every other person who maybe is entering into DevOps, let me ask you this quick question. And well, I'm expecting you all to answer, so I'll just randomly call the names. All right. What makes you good at your job? That's either your current job or the job before DevOps. What makes you good at it? Bob, let's begin with you.
Makes me good, especially able to connect with my team. And the ability to share ideas with my team too. That is what actually motivates me and keeps me going in my job.
Okay, thank you for that. Ivan, what makes you good at your job?
Yeah, what makes me good at my jobs, like the planning sessions, and the understanding all the requirements and translate them into code. Even writing specification document very well.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. Boris, what makes you good at your job?
I would just say most of the stuff like you want to say the planning, understanding the requirement of the to do what was done to us in the station like that.
All right, cool. Stacy, welcome.
Thanks. Morning to all.
Good morning. I hope you're doing okay. So we are doing a little exercise, right? Before we get into what makes a great DevOps engineer, we want to know what makes you good at DevOps, so that we see how maybe we relate to what makes a great DevOps engineer. Okay, so we are just going around, and a couple of people have mentioned a couple of things, but I think bottom line from what Bob has mentioned was collaboration. From what Boris and Ivan have also mentioned, that's been collaboration, understanding the requirements and all that, right? Team building and all that. You, Stacey, what makes you good at your job? Yeah. Now we lost Stacy. Okay, Stacy's back. Yeah.
What can I say? It is just understanding what you're supposed to do now. For me, if I
Yeah.
know what I have to do and understand the steps
All
on how
right.
to achieve my work, then I think I will do it.
Okay, that's nice. Thank you. Lowell.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what makes you good at your job?
Yeah.
I know you're
Currently, my job is the ability to learn, and take ownership of the part of my job that I'm currently looking at. Yeah.
That's nice. Livingston. I think maybe you're the last year.
Yeah, I would say the ability to solve problems in a timely manner and deliver, basically.
Okay, nice. Maybe let me take one last person. Steve, what makes you good at your job? You're the person who set up all these. Like, what makes you good at this? Okay. All right. So we have all listened to what each and every other person has said, right? If you guys discovered, nobody really made mention of the fact that maybe because he or she really knows how to use Microsoft Word, or because he or she knows how to use a computer and all that, right? So what makes you good at your job boils down to some few basic things, right? Which some people may ignore, but it's very, very important, really, really important. A whole lot of us have said what we have said, and if we can all boil it down, we'll see that it gets down to communication, it gets down to problem solving, it gets down to you learning on the fly, right? It gets down to you helping others. It will probably get down to you maybe staying calm under pressure. Just little things like that, right? These are all qualities that will make you good at your job. And guess what? These are all qualities that will make you a great DevOps engineer, right? So you don't need to know all these, hey, Terraform this, Ansible that. I don't even know some of these tools. Like at some meetings, they call them and I'm like, what are you guys saying? Okay. So the mindset of a great DevOps engineer is to do with system thinking, you understanding the whole flow. Okay. You've been biased for automation, right? So let's say if it hurts, like nobody here wants to do something boring over and over and over and over again. Someone defined insanity as doing something what I don't know that definition, but yeah, that's the thing. And that's more about IT engineering and everything in general. Like nobody wants to be copying files from here to there, or maybe starting and stopping this server or doing this and that every single day, right? So if it hurts, automate it. Okay. Reliability too. You need to design systems that, hey, they are safe. When you're deploying, you need to make sure that they are always available and it's not just there, like it's available, it's accessible, it's scalable and things like that, right? A whole lot of us, all of us here pretty much, well, not all, but the majority of us are into IT, and you mostly hear things like it was working on my computer, this and that. So we need to take ownership. If something fails, you take ownership of it. Hey, if you're the one who did that, and maybe it's working locally for you, it's not working on production. So some of these little things, these are just the mindsets that make you a great DevOps engineer, right? Okay, so let's reflect a little bit on our habits. Okay, so you've mentioned all these different things that make you good at your job, right? What do you think you're doing that is right, that aligns with DevOps values? Okay, so you know a little bit about DevOps engineering. What do you think you're doing that is right, that aligns with DevOps values? What do you think you're doing that is wrong or that is inconsistent with DevOps or your job? generally, right? What are you not doing yet that you know you should do? Okay, so these are some little questions. If anyone maybe has something that they want to say about it, the floor is open, right? What do you think you're doing right that aligns with DevOps? What do you think you're doing wrong? What do you think you're not doing yet? Okay, the floor is all yours. But if nobody has anything to maybe say about that, we can continue. All right, it's just for us to reflect about it. Or maybe let's not say anything, just reflect about it. At your current job right now, what do you think you're doing right? That you think if you apply the same thing when you're doing DevOps, you're going to excel. What do you think you're doing wrong? Make sure that when you're going into DevOps, you don't go with that habit. Because not like you fail, but it's probably going to derail you for a little bit and it may be longer, right? So you need to get some of those habits that you think, hey, are good habits that you can take into DevOps. Filter out the habits that you know you should not take into DevOps. And the ones that you think you maybe are not doing that you should be doing. Okay. So just think about it for a second. All right. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with that as an assignment pretty much, and then we'll move to the next. Okay. All right. So quite a few of us here are into DevOps, but there are still a few of us who want to get into DevOps. What exactly or where exactly should you begin focus on? Remember, I told you that there are a whole lot of tools, right? These are just a few tools that, well, from the image I could get, this is just a few tools. This is not all of the tools. Okay, so tools keep popping up every day, and with the invention of AI, we have a whole lot of tools out there that can help you with DevOps. All right. But where would you begin from? If you're a beginner, where should you begin focus on? That's a big question. And that's where CloudOps Academy comes in to help. All right. So they have created resources for you. They know exactly where to start, how to build you through that your DevOps career until you land the job. They offer support. They offer everything that you can think of, pretty much. Us as DevOps engineers, we always communicate amongst ourselves. There are a whole lot of times that if you ask Bless, I call Bless countless times, and I'm like, hey, I'm sure Bless is even mad that he and I we are almost in the same place together, because all the time I'm like, hey, bro, what's up? I have this. Have you worked on this before? If he has, okay, sure. I need some insight, right? It takes a nation, right? So don't walk alone. Join a community. Learn from them. They know exactly what they are doing. All right. So I will not tell you where to begin focus from, but I'll tell you some few things that you need to know or you need to have in mind when you're learning DevOps. All right. So these things, they are not going to be exact tools that you need to learn. Unfortunately, I cannot do that for you. So CloudOps will do that. CloudOps will tell you, hey, okay, this is the basic that you need to know, you need to do. If you're learning on your own, then you find out the hard way. And trust me, you don't want to find out the hard way. Okay, so where do you want to begin from? All of us are into IT, so we know pretty much that we need to know version control, right? So you need to know a little bit about version control. There are version control systems out there, tools and whatever. I think we have Git, GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, things like that. All those do the exact same thing, right? But which one will you focus on? Again, remember when Lowell was talking about what makes him good at his job, he made mention of learning on the fly, right? If you know one, you can always learn another one. If you get into a company today and they're using GitHub, tomorrow you get into another company and they're using Bitbucket. Will you say that no, because you're using GitHub, you will not work for them? Of course not, right? So you obviously need to know how to use Bitbucket. The underlying architecture is the same thing. The only thing that will probably change is the interface. That is the exact same thing. Okay, so version control is one of those things that you need to know as a beginner. You need to know, this is another thing that maybe a lot of people say, hey, you don't need this, but it's very important as well. You need to know a little bit about programming. It may not be needed at your job, right? But you need to know. You need to know about it, especially when it comes to scripting. You cannot automate stuff if you don't know how to maybe think logically, right? The way automation works is the way you think. Hey, okay, if you want to maybe, let's take for example, you want to leave your house. For those who maybe are in Boya, maybe they want to go watch a match at, let's say, the Stadium at Moliko. You're going to have a whole lot of if statements there. You're going to have conditions for when it fails or when something happens and things like that, right? You get up. If you're leaving the house, is it going to be raining? If it's raining, maybe I should get an umbrella, or I should maybe get a raincoat, or maybe I just stay in because I'm a bag of salt and I don't need water to touch me. The end goal for that one is going to be you probably not watch the match, but then you need to watch that match because that match is your deliverable, right? So tech, that's just how tech is. That's just how automation is. You have to think logically, right? It's not about you knowing in depth how the code works. No, not really. But you need to know how to code at least, or how to write automation scripts, or how to write just even conditions, right? So logic thinking and all of that, it will help you a whole lot as a beginner. Okay. You need to know, as a beginner, you can focus on CI/CD pipelines. There are a whole lot of CI/CD tools out there. So nobody will tell you, hey, you must know GitLab, you must know GitHub Actions, you must know Jenkins, you must know Circle CI. No, right? All of those will do almost the exact same thing. Focus on one. You don't have to learn all. Okay, that's the whole idea behind DevOps. You don't need to be a master of, they say, master, is it, you know everything, but a master of knowing something. I've forgotten that phrase, but you don't need to know everything. Master one, be very good at the one that you know. Linux administration is the core of DevOps. Again, I'll still use lowest code. Some DevOps engineers are glorified sysadmins or Linux administrators, right? You need to know Linux administration. You cannot do DevOps without knowing Linux administration. Linux is the way you pretty much troubleshoot your infrastructure, troubleshoot pretty much anything that is going on. That's your Linux skills. So you need to know Linux basics. You can dive into one or two clouds, AWS, GCP, Azure, Oracle, whatever. But again, as an emphasis, you don't need to know all of this at once. All right. Join CloudOps. They are going to tell you, hey, okay, this is the roadmap we have for you. All right. Okay. So we have understood that DevOps is not all about it's not all about just tech. It's not all about you knowing that text your tech stack or your different tools and all of that, right? So DevOps boils down to a few fundamentals: communication, collaboration, your learning mindset, your ability to lead, documentation. So it's a very important skill in DevOps, right? So those are just a few things. So don't maybe want to get into DevOps and you're scared of the fact that, hey, there's Kubernetes. How am I going to learn this? Nah, you don't have to do that. Don't do that to yourself, because if you do that to yourself, you're going to fail. And you don't want to fail, right? Okay. So let's maybe get a little bit away from all about the DevOps this, DevOps that, and let's look at a day in the life of a DevOps engineer so that we can understand why maybe I'm saying that, hey, you don't need to know all these different tools, or hey, it's what makes you a great engineer. It's not really about the tools, it's more about your mindset, your collaboration skills, communication, and all of that, right? We have quite a few DevOps engineers in here. So let's hear from them, like a day in the life of a DevOps engineer. What makes them good at their job? Why are they still there? Why have they not been fired yet? Right? They have not been fired because they are great at their job. As a DevOps engineer, if you're not good, the company will let you go. That's the truth. If you're not good, the company will let you go. So for those who are still there, and I know they are great at their job, let's hear from them. What exactly do they do on a day-to-day basis that makes them great? Okay. Up first, I'm going to take Engineer Lowe. How is it like a day in the life of a DevOps engineer case study you. Lower.
Sorry, I stepped away for a bit. I just heard my name. What's happening?
That's not good, bro. So we are looking at we want to take a few case studies, right?
Yeah.
We know that hey, DevOps is not all about the tools, this and that. But let's try to understand what makes someone great at a job. We've mentioned quite a few things: collaboration, team building, learning on the fly, and all of that, which we saw that they were not really tool specific, right? It was more just the mindset and all of that, right? So now we want to know what makes you good at your job that you're still there and you've not been fired yet, right? So a day in the life of a DevOps engineer, and we are taking you as the first case study.
Okay. So a good day for me is when nothing goes wrong. DevOps is one of the things where you don't get instant gratification. Like if I'm doing front-end, for example, I can easily just see the UI I've built, and I get some satisfaction from that, seeing that this is the code and this is the product of that. But DevOps does not usually get like instant gratification usually from the other teams. They usually don't exactly, most of the time they don't get what you're doing. Secondly, they don't see it immediately. They just know these things are working. They don't exactly realize that you're putting some effort behind that. But the minute something goes wrong, everyone knows. If there is one tool that is down for some reason, and it's usually a tool that some people are using, everyone knows that this thing is not working. Why is it not working? You get like thousands of messages and emails. So a good day is a day when, first of all, nothing goes wrong. Secondly, when it does go wrong, it's important to keep your cool, calm down, keep your cool. And like Durell mentioned earlier, it's very important to have some level of, if you have experience with object-oriented programming, you know how to, the first thing they teach you is how to break complex things into steps. They'll tell you, programming is, the algorithm is the step-by-step process you need to solve a problem. So when you have an issue, the first thing you need to do is to break it down into steps that you will take to solve this problem. Usually, it goes back to what he said again, documentation. Usually, when you're setting up an environment or infrastructure, you usually leave the trail of documents behind for when something goes wrong. So you should have these steps normally, but every now and then, a few new things might happen. So you calm down and you go back to the basics and okay, what do I do to act on this? And I've seen people lose their cool, and it's not the best bit you need. I think you need to calm down and go back to the basics, take step by step and do it. So a day in my life is making sure that everything works fine. If I'm doing something new, I might as well document it. And whatever it is you're going to be bringing online, make sure you have a strategy for disaster recovery on it, because we no one plans for disasters, but it does happen. So more often than you would think, actually. But yeah, a good day in life is when everything's working fine, I would say.
Thank you. Livingston, you're into cloud. So yeah, I'm going to ask you how is it like a day in the life of a DevOps engineer? Maybe you're not into DevOps, maybe you're a cloud engineer or this or that. To be honest, I don't keep up with these roles. There are a whole lot of cloud roles out there, but they all do the same thing, really. So Livingston, how is it like a day at work for you? Livingston here. I don't think Livingston is still here. Okay. All right. Blessed is not here, so I'm guessing maybe I'm the one left for a day in the life of a DevOps engineer. Okay. For me, like Lowe mentioned, if everything goes well that day, I mean, it's a great day, right? But there are a few things that maybe you do from the get-go, right? So for me, let's say, maybe let's run down from when I get on my decks. That's when I start work. Okay. First things first, always just make sure that, hey, do I have a few pending messages and all that, right? Because by the time you leave in the evening, you come back the next day, you guys are not all working in the same time zone, right? So first things first, make sure that you check your mails, check your messages. If there is anybody that contacted you for something or maybe just asked about something, you make sure you send a response, or you start looking into the task at hand or whatever, right? But yeah, check your mails. What does that boil under? Communication, right? So you need to always make sure that you stay on top of your game. Okay, keep your calm. There are going to be people that will piss you off. Trust me. Sorry to the full stack or the developers that we have in here, but some developers will piss you off as a DevOps engineer. Right? So you always need to make sure that you keep your calm. And then there's stand-ups. So you go to your stand-up, you maybe tell them. It usually runs for, like, depending on the team, some stand-ups run for 15 minutes. I've been in a team that stand-ups run for like 30, 45 minutes, and it's really boring, right? But yeah, the stand-ups, you go there, you mention what you did the previous day, what you did the next day. And from there, pretty much I just go to my Jira board and look, hey, okay, I have these tasks. If I have any pending tasks, okay, I continue working on them, or any tasks in progress, I continue working on them. If all have been completed, checked already, then you can maybe start looking into a few things that you can ameliorate and things like that, right? So DevOps is simple. It's not you knowing Kubernetes, this and that. No. At the end of the day, it's about you communicating with your team. It's about you keeping your cool when things go wrong. It's about you being able to be there, how quickly you can solve somebody's issue, really, because systems will go down. I think I saw a post this morning that engineer Bless made. I did not really go through all of it, but it's something about them having a system that is 99.9999 uptime availability and all of that. But it went wrong, was it yesterday? And nobody was there, right? As the DevOps engineer who is on call, you need to be able to find a solution as fast as you can. And the solution does not just have to be good, but it has to be scalable. It has to be sustainable enough. You cannot find a solution that you need tomorrow, the same thing will happen and you need to find another solution again. No. That's not how DevOps work, right? So yeah, it's really simple when you think about it. DevOps is not that difficult. It's the exact same thing like Bob who is doing IT. He'll get in the morning. He'll maybe look at a few mails, a few messages. If there are one or two tickets that he needs to attend to, or maybe from the previous day, he'll attend to them, and he'll do his stand-up, right? Maybe they don't do stand-ups every day, but if they do stand-ups, you just go there, you give your feedback. Hey, I did this yesterday, I'll be doing this today. And then you come back and you can chill. Depending on how good you are, if the task you have at hand is something simple, you can maybe do it in 2 hours, 1 hour, 30 minutes. And then you forget about that for the whole day, or maybe for the whole sprint, which might be 2 weeks, right? But trust me, there are going to be some tasks that are like they're from hell. So some tasks will go up maybe weeks, and you're still working on it. It's not like you're just sitting around, you're working tirelessly day and night. But it's fun. Okay, so if you're looking to get into DevOps, it's not difficult, all right? Your journey begins with Cloud. So with Cloud Ops, they are going to pretty much drill you on how to be a DevOps engineer, how to be a great DevOps engineer. They will give you those tools that you need. They'll give you the mindset. They have a whole lot of knowledge that they can impact you with. All right. So join Cloud Ops, and you're already there pretty much. If you're here, then you've made great progress already. All right. Okay, I think that was it for maybe the webinar or the talk or whatever this was. Hopefully I was not that bad. But yeah, if you have any questions, it's time for you to maybe ask. If you have any final thoughts, maybe share with us. Okay.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah. Just pulling back to what Joga was saying. Sorry, Engineer Joga, I'm going to I just call him the way I usually call him.
This engineer title, please.
So yeah, going back to the you not being the jack of all tools thing and the idea of what a community can do for you, because not everyone would have the same roadmap. I know we usually see like these roadmaps that are posted on LinkedIn and other sites. Like you see, they will tell you, oh, you have to start from here. I think I usually see from HTML, CSS to down to one Ansible or one tool that I probably even know how to pronounce. So I would say it's not the same for everybody. No, there's no one thing that really works for everybody. The idea is to find your strengths, understand you as a person first of all, find your strengths and weaknesses, then see what would work for you. And with the experience that we've had in the field, not just in regards to skills, but as well how the market works, the idea is to tune something that works for you and guide you through that journey until you're, until getting you prepared as well for the because it's a whole other thing to have the skill, and it's a different ball game when it comes to pinning down a job. So yeah, there is that's what it means when he's talking about cloud ops can support you in that. And the idea as well is to have a community that you can always come back to, because like you heard him say, when he has one or two things he can call Blaze, and I'm sure it's vice versa. So the idea is when you're stuck on somewhere. One thing I realized with DevOps things with this cloud and infrastructure is that most of these things are like companies will hardly put out their entire infrastructure online because it's also a security risk. So it's not very easy to get some immediate help on Stack Overflow when it comes to infra stuff. And AI as well will not be your best friend when it comes to infrastructure scripts or infrastructure stuff, basically, because not one is the same. It's all different based on where you are, and it probably needs a lot more context than you're giving it. So that's where experience will always come in. You need someone who has done it before, so you can ask the person. So that's the idea of having a community as well, like this, such as this, where you can share ideas, and there are people in it who are more experienced than you, and the people that you're more experienced than, and you will know for a fact that if you're stuck somewhere, you can easily come back here, and someone should know something. That's the idea behind having a community. So I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, feedback from anyone? All right. If there is no question and all, I have my own question that I want to ask you guys too. So what was your biggest insight maybe from the lesson of today or from the talk of today? Let's go with the talk. Hello, where you were talking, so just continue. What was your biggest insights?
Yeah, I think I saw Ivan raise this hand.
Oh, sorry, I did not see that. I probably missed that. I'm sorry. Ivan, go on.
Yeah, it was not about the thought, I wanted to ask like a small question, like how are developers like pissing you off?
Laura, do you want to answer that question? How do developers piss you off as a DevOps engineer? I think maybe that's another talk for another day. But the thing with okay, go on, Laura.
I'm not going to answer specifically. I'll just say the idea, it's the kind of the whole point of this DevOps thing being created. DevOps is not really a job title per se. Yeah. DevOps is more of a solution to a problem that was noticed. And when you hear something like developers piss stuff, it's exactly why there is DevOps, because developers need to understand that there are human beings at the end of what they are building, and that whatever it is they are doing at the end of the day, these are human beings interacting with it, and the feedback you get, you're supposed to act on it. It's not just supposed to be all logical. There's supposed to be some empathy in all of this. And the other guys as well, at the other end, also need to understand that developers also need to understand that they need to give developers the full context that they need, or the correct instructions to be able to build what they need to build, what needs to be built. That communication gap is the whole thing that, the whole problem that DevOps is supposed to be solving. So probably when a developer does something on his mind, this is logically correct. Like, I'm supposed to build a button. When I press this button, when this button is clicked, for example, it's supposed to trigger this event and it's supposed to do this. They don't care how that delivery is done, but the fact that it's doing it is what they care about. So usually you're like, no, but this doesn't make a lot of sense logically. No one will really do this. Then they're like, no, but that's a logical way it's done. So this communication this communication is usually what causes a lot of issue. So I would say I personally would say as a developer, you need to know some DevOps, and as an ops person, you need to understand exactly some development processes as well. Yeah. So that's the idea behind this. Yeah. You can add something if you want to.
No, pretty much if you've made mention of all of it. So yeah, Ivan, it's not like it's something that happens often. It's just maybe the one time that it happens is due to maybe miscommunication or something, right? So the developers need to know a little bit about what is happening in the upside, and of course the ops need to know what is happening in the dev side, right? So all of you need to sing together and work. But imagine you're deploying maybe a Java code today, you're coding something in Java, it's working very well on your machine, like you do your demo and everything works fine. Now it's time for us to deploy. We were not involved with that development process. We have no idea what you did in terms of configuration, in terms of anything. But now we need to deploy. When we deploy, it fails. Maybe this page is not showing, or you're clicking on this button, there's no pop-up that was supposed to happen. But it's working fine for you, it's not working for us. The developer will not even stress. The developer will tell you that it's working on my computer. And they will not even tell you that, hey, okay, no, maybe you need to do this, or you need to check this or that, because maybe you were not with them. But if you were with them, and during maybe their sprint planning or their retrospectives and all of that, they'll make mention of the fact that, hey, okay, when they were doing this, they had to do this. So you as a DevOps engineer, you also pay attention to know that, okay, hey, you need to do this when it's time for this to be done, right? But if there is that lack of communication and the two teams don't interact together, it's almost always going to be difficult. So developers will piss you off, not because they intentionally mean to, it's just because they don't give you the information that you need. Yeah. So that's just it, pretty much. Any other maybe questions or insights from any other person?
Maybe we can ask if there is some takeaways from this.
Yeah, so Bob, the floor is all yours.
Okay, thanks again once more for this opportunity. I really enjoy what you have presented so far, even though there is still a lot to dive deep into. But I wanted to just have a quick understanding. Okay. Developers, because I came to know about DevOps in the sense of cloud computing. So I don't know exactly if being a DevOps engineer or a developer, you have to have this understanding of cloud computing, or you need to, I don't know, exactly your domain where you are going to be working, because I know when I hear something of developers are all about coding, typing the machine always frequently. So I want to understand because, as I said, I came to know about DevOps in the sense of cloud computing.
I'm guessing you don't want to code too.
Pardon?
I'm guessing you don't want to code. You don't want to be a developer.
Yeah. No, all that. Not that I don't want to, but.
So yeah, like Lowe mentioned, right? DevOps came around because of some one or two setbacks that had to do with, let's say, agile methodology and all that, right? So DevOps came in for that collaboration. Okay, so DevOps is more that collaborative skills or collaboration between the teams, the different teams that you have, all right, the development team and the operation teams. Yes, as a developer, you need to have some operations knowledge, right? That's why I think you see job posts now out there for developers where you see they'll say, hey, a plus in maybe AWS, a plus with Docker, a plus with this, a plus with that, right? Why is that the case? Because as a developer, in as much as you may not know exactly how to deploy your code to live to maybe thousands or millions of users, right? You need an operations engineer for that. You need a DevOps engineer to help you with that. DevOps engineers will help you with the infrastructure that will be able to sustain your code, right? Whatever you're deploying. Okay. But now, you as a developer, you need to know a little bit of, okay, hey, at least you need to know how to deploy that on your computer, right? So that's the little knowledge you know. You know a little bit about maybe Docker. You know a little bit about maybe Terraform. You know a little bit about something, right? You know a little bit about the cloud. Okay. So yeah, you need to know a little bit about that. Why is that the case? Because eventually you're going to be working with somebody who will need to know exactly what you have done. And when the person is talking, you need to understand what the person is saying. Same thing goes to for the DevOps engineer. You need to know a little bit of development. You may not know exactly how to code, but you need to know software development life cycles. You need to know how software engineering works, right? Why is that the case? Because when you're discussing with a developer and he's mentioning, hey, my Python this, I needed, let's say, a dependency in my requirements.txt. You need to understand what he's saying, right? If you don't understand what he's saying, you will not be able to deploy the infrastructure. You may eventually deploy it, but it will probably take you way long to do that, right? That's why it's a plus from either side to know something about the other side. Okay, so as a DevOps engineer, you need, me personally, with the goals that I've had and the current role that I have, I don't code, right? But I know a little bit about software development. I know a little bit about software engineering. I don't know that because I need to use it. If they tell me that, hey, your task today is for you to change the color of this button, yeah, maybe I'll Google it. AI will help me. I'll change the color. But how do I get to the point of maybe asking AI what exactly to do? Because I know a little bit about it, right? So I know exactly what I'm asking. I may not know how the command and how to do it, but I'll ask AI. AI will give me that command and I'll probably recall and I'll do that. But for a software engineer, they already know that, hey, okay, this is what they need to do. They just go and do that. They don't need to ask AI no more. So you see now where that knowledge comes from, right? You need to at least have that background knowledge, have that information for you to be able to maneuver in the different fields or the different environments. Okay. Any other question from any other person? Okay. So any takeaways from the lesson today?
Sorry, I had like a last question.
Okay.
Like, how often will a DevOps engineer intervene in the operation or in the software development life cycle? Like,
it depends, and I will say all the time. So pretty much when you're deploying, right, whoever your DevOps engineer is, he or she needs to be there when the software engineers, anytime they have a meeting, they are doing their grooming, they are working, the DevOps engineer needs to be with them. All right. Why is that the case? That's the case because if there is a change today in terms of code, you guys, the software engineers, will be like, okay, hey, we are changing this code from this to this, or we are doing this from this to this, so that maybe we'll do this. Simple example can be for those who maybe work with Python and flags or Python and its different libraries and all that, right? Imagine that you guys have an infrastructure that you've deployed already. And for some reason, maybe you have a dependency in your requirements.txt file, and that dependency is maybe of version 1.2. And there was probably a vulnerability there that you guys found out, and all of that. You changed that. You, the software developers, you decided that, hey, okay, let's move to a more stable version, a newer version, and all of that. And you guys moved to maybe version 2.4 of that particular library. If your DevOps engineer is not there, he or she will not know to make modification on that live to the end users. So the code will probably still continue breaking live because of maybe just that one small change. Users will have a horrible time because of just that one small change that the engineer should have known, but because maybe he or she was not involved in that development process, he has no idea about it. All right. That saves time for meetings too, because DevOps engineers don't like meetings. So as a developer, you don't have to come and do everything, and then you'd be like, okay, now we have this, we'll go to a meeting, and then we'll tell the DevOps engineer what to do. No. So let me just be there. I know that this is what is happening, and I can immediately make modifications on the infrastructure, my code, and everything. So yeah, as a DevOps engineer, you still write code. Don't get me wrong, you will still write code. The code is going to be in the form of scripts. There is still code. So yeah, you still need to know a little bit of code too. Okay. Yeah. So in terms of involvement in the development process, all the time, I would say all the time, he or she has to be there from the get-go from the project initialization right up to when the deployment is done. You as a software engineer, you just need to be there for when you're coding. The DevOps engineer is going to probably be there with stakeholders, be there with this, be there with that, because the DevOps engineer needs to understand the customer side, he needs to understand the user side, needs to understand the stakeholder side, everything. So he or she is pretty much involved everywhere. All right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Courage, you've been silent.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry, I came late. I was just trying to listen to all that you guys have been saying. I'm still trying to do some little bit of research and just getting. Since I came late, I really have no big questions to ask. So that's it. I'm just like, okay, let me follow up from where you guys have been.
Okay. Well, I don't know if the sessions are recorded, Steph, that somebody can go over again, even if the person maybe wasn't there. If not, maybe it's something that we can think about, or you guys can think about also. All right. So if no questions, any maybe takeaways from today? I'll randomly go around. I'll begin with Boris. Any takeaway from today?
All good for my end.
All right. Bob. Bob is not there. Okay, guys. So I have one last question to ask you guys. I really hope you guys answer honestly. I'm not asking this to Steph or to Lowe. I'm asking to every other person besides Steph and Lowe. All right. What would you guys want to explore more in the upcoming sessions, right? So you guys let us know maybe what you want us to talk about, and we can schedule something and then hold another webinar session and we talk about it. Maybe it's just something that you want to be clarified about. I think you can book sessions. There is, I think, Mentura or something that was built for one-on-one sessions and things like that. I think Steph and Laura will tell you more about that, right? But you can get to them. You tell them, hey, okay, maybe I want you guys to talk a little bit more about this topic. I want you guys to talk a little bit more about the topic. I want to be clarified about this, about that, right? They're always going to be there for you. Okay. So CloudOps will always be there for you. All right. Reach out to them, and whatever you want, you'll see how they can to help you with that. That being said, thank you very much. I'm just going to drop a link to my website if anybody wants to get to me. Okay. I don't have time to share number, links, and all of that. I'm sorry, but they are all on the website.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Engineer Durell.
You're welcome.